Hello, I'm Adam,
And I'm Adrian.
and welcome to Cast from the Crypt. Today, we're talking about a gem of a film, aren't we?
Yeah.
That is, of course, 2014 worldwide global phenomenon. I Frankenstein.
Uh, I don't know if I've said this before already on this podcast. This is the worst movie we've covered.
I agree. I completely agree.
This is officially the worst movie we have in our catalog.
I was with my brother. We were trying to figure out a movie to watch, and I was like, "Oh, this movie looks so dumb. Let's watch this one." And 13 minutes into the movie, we stopped the movie so I could call you and just tell you to watch this movie. And then
wow.
you told me 8 minutes into your viewing, you had to text me about it.
Because it's... I mean, I guess we'll get into it, but I will say this. For all of this movie's flaws, and they are innumerable, it is one of the most unique viewing experiences I've ever had. I can honestly say that. I actually remember, I don't know if you do, but I remember when this movie came out.
I do too. I
remember the
too. I
promotional
remember thinking,
material.
that looks dumb.
I
At
remember
13 years old.
thinking, that looks cool at 14 years old.
Okay. I should have gone. This movie's rated PG-13, so I could have gone.
Yeah, I should have gone. But I didn't. And I think maybe even like in high school, we had done Frankenstein that year, which piqued my interest even more.
Like as a play?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But this is not the Mary Shelley piece that you know and love, or like me have just like general disinterest towards. This is based off of a digital graphic novel by an author named Kevin Grievo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that exactly right. And Stuart Beattie. Stuart Beattie, I believe, was maybe the person that did the artwork, but the writer was definitely Kevin Grievo. Or Grivio, maybe.
I hope it's
anyway.
Grievo.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he doesn't deserve to have his name pronounced correctly.
For doing this.
No, it's not his fault. I bet you the graphic novel is lovely. But there are a lot of things that make this movie such a... I mean, there's a word that I'm thinking that half of the word starts with cluster. But I won't say that.
Okay.
What makes it such an experience. And here are what I believe they are. And I think we should talk about it before we actually get into the meat of the film. So this movie, I, Frankenstein, came out in 2014, and the cast on paper is an interesting one. I won't say it sounds great, but it's an interesting cast. It stars Aaron Eckhart, who is, of course, he's done a lot of things. He's a very famous actor, but I would say his career really took off when he was Harvey Dent and Two-Face in The Dark Knight. Now, if you recall, The Dark Knight came out in 2008, and he had a bunch of big gigs after that. He did Rabbit Hole, he did Olympus Has Fallen, he did Battle Los Angeles. And when I say big gigs, I don't mean good, I just mean, big popcorn flicks. This is yet another big popcorn flick, or so it wanted to be. And I really think that they were trying to ride the wave of Aaron Eckhart's popularity, and also trying to cash in on the trend of the big movies from 2012, 2013, 2014. Because I don't know if you remember, but like the early 2010s, which feels weird to say, were jam-packed with these sort of science fiction wannabe epics. The one that comes to mind, which is a better movie, and that's not saying much, is Oblivion with Tom Cruise. You remember that? That came out, and
Yeah,
there
vaguely.
was tons of marketing behind it. It was this big science fiction piece. Uh, there was a lot of hype behind it. The Lone Ranger had come out, and Johnny Depp was in it, and that cannibal, what's his name? Army Hammer. And they were trying to put a bunch of hype behind that, and I don't know, man. They were making these movies, these big blockbuster sci-fi sort of adventure flicks, and they were trying to put all the pieces together. But this is a bad movie.
This movie is a rotting piece of garbage.
It's disgusting.
Another wave it's trying to ride is that that Twilight sort of wave.
Yeah.
It's that genre of like
That too.
sexy monsters, like Underworld or whatever.
If you think Aaron Eckhart is sexy.
Well, didn't you tell me this is in the Underworld?
Okay. So that's a whole nother thing, dude.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So I did some research, of course. There was hope of a possible sequel for this movie. Of course, that just did not pan out.
Which is hilarious that they
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. Now, here is the kicker. Let me just make sure. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm right on this. Hold on. I'm sorry. I just don't want to say something that's not right because I've messed up a few times recently. Okay, yeah. Here is what's interesting. Grievo, if that's his name, or Grevio.
I think it's Grevio.
Kevin. We'll call him Kevin. Kevin, the writer of this film. Or excuse me, the writer of the graphic novel that would later become the inspiration for this film. Also is the writer of the graphic novel that would later be the inspiration for the Underworld movies. I did not know this until recently. Okay?
I see.
Now, he is involved in those films. He had much less involvement in this one. Underworld has a cult following. I, Frankenstein, just simply does not have the chutzpah to gain the same kind of following. And so any hope for a sequel is just not it's not sound.
No.
He said in an interview, and I don't remember what the publication that he was talking to was, but he said that he wanted to do, way before the Avengers, wanted to do an Avengers-esque like post-credit scene with Kate Beckinsale coming on. And I think they might have even filmed it, but it didn't happen. It didn't pan out.
I'm glad. Maybe that shows that they knew.
What could have been. And then Kate Beckinsale spiraled and dated Pete Davidson. So,
oof, rock bottom. Yeah. This movie feels like it is riding the wave of many things that have died. By 2014, Twilight began in 2008. I think it ended in 2013, but by that, it had come to a close. It was, and by its final movie, it was not nearly as popular as it was in 2008 when it was huge. Aaron Eckhart 2, kind of fading. And then they made this movie. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he was like the starring role in the other movies he's in quite like he is here.
No, I mean, for the most part, he's just usually a strong supporting character.
Yes. Here, they take the weight of this movie and rest it on his feeble shoulders.
Yeah.
I will give Aaron Eckhart nothing. I really don't think he's that good of an actor. Sure, I'll give you Dark Knight. All right, we can argue about that all day.
And that might just be a good movie.
No, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to feel the same way.
Every time I've ever seen him thereafter, I was like, God, this is terrible.
he is. I will say this. Have you seen Thank You for Smoking?
I have not, admittedly.
He is really good in that movie.
Okay.
And that came out. That actually even came out before Dark Knight. And I don't know. I mean, he got like a Golden Globe nom, but when people talk about Aaron Eckhart, what do they think about?
I think about I Frankenstein, and I never will not. But
Jesus.
probably think of Two-Face.
Oh man, yeah. Point taken. I can respect an attempt at making something so much larger than the one film, and such an early attempt at creating a cinematic universe. But this movie falls so flat on its face. And it's not just one thing. It's not just the performances. And we can talk about Jai Courtney until the sun goes down. God, Jai Courtney is so talentless. It really hurts me. But the writing is bad. The pacing is bad. The movie looks bad. The plot is dumb. It's unclear. There's just so much wrong in this movie that, like, I don't know. I just don't know how anything can make Underworld seem so much better.
Dude, right? That's what I was thinking the whole time.
And yet it manages to do that.
I was like, how is Underworld the best thing that
it's insane, dude.
This man has, you know?
It's insane. It's insane.
Wow. First of all, we got to cover Van Helsing later, but
actually, that could be next. I'm down for that.
There we go.
I'm down for that.
Okay. But yeah, this movie, Jai Courtney is also in it, and Jai Courtney, like, is a curse. Like, if you put Jai Courtney in your film, here's a shovel, start digging your grave, because there's no hope, there's no chance. I don't quite know why he's famous, because he's like, he's not like buff or sexy or talented or really anything, but he's kind of known. He's like in a lot of stuff, and I don't know how he gets any work.
Much. He is in so much, dude.
How does he get work?
Let me quickly because I agree. There's of course the very famous legend of the Boston Red Sox trading Babe Ruth. Have you heard of this?
Please.
The Boston Red Sox traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees, and famously didn't win a championship for years and years and years. Some baseball lore for you.
Yeah, they got cursed.
The curse of the Bambino. Of course, Babe Ruth went on to have a fantastic career with the Yankees, and the rest is history. Literally. I believe that any movie that brings in Jai Courtney is just going to be critically panned from the jump. And I'm going to call that the curse of Courtney.
That's pretty good.
Because it's bad.
It's bad.
Let's test the theory. All right?
Please.
Give me a yay or nay for these movies. I Frankenstein.
It's a no for me.
Right. Divergent.
Definitely no. I didn't know he was in Divergent.
Then Insurgent. I don't know who saw that one, but that's probably a no.
Well, that whole franchise, like you said, Curse of the Bambino, they didn't even get the third movie. There's 3 books, they didn't even get that third movie. Jai Courtney came and killed it.
Terminator Genesis, one of the worst movies of the last 10 years.
Yeah, that movie's hot garbage.
The first Suicide Squad.
Jai.
Yeah, really bad. And then they did bring him back in the second one, but I'm almost positive they killed him in that opening scene.
Yeah.
And so maybe the curse has been lifted. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean...
But you have it there.
Yeah, he's in nothing good. He brings down everything he's a part of. Like, you could just get some schmo off the street. You'll do better.
That's what they did. They found him in Sydney, Australia, and they gave him, that 5 o'clock shadow that looks penciled on, and that was it. There he is, just in like everything, and yet doing so little all the time. He has more money than I ever will, so shout out to him. But
Yeah. The other name that I knew from this is Bill Nye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not the science guy.
Not the science. Nye, Nigh with a Y. So the spelling confuses me. But I've seen him in other stuff. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. And I will go so far as to say he's the best actor in this movie.
He's good. I agree. I really like him in Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz. He's in the Netflix Castlevania series.
Oh, he's a voice actor?
Yeah. Yeah, he is nowadays at least.
Oh, that's cool. But I also am pretty fond of Yvonne Strahovski. Everybody in this movie has a difficult name to pronounce. But I like her a lot. She's in The Handmaid's Tale, and she's really good in it. She's been nominated for her work in that show, and I think she's got some talent. This just wasn't it. She's the sexy scientist.
Oh man, we can get into that.
Right, the love interest that's necessary for this movie.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, these people, I feel like it's a disservice to them. It's very rude for them to be in this movie. They did not deserve this.
No, not at all.
So, getting into the film. First of all, this movie is so tropey. Like, it is riding that wave of all the, sexy vampires and all that. But to sum up everything wrong with this movie, and to both describe this movie's plot in one phrase, it is Sexy Frankenstein. That's what this movie is. That's what it's trying to do. That's what it's trying to be. And hearing that should automatically disqualify this movie from existence.
This rotting man.
That's a dumb idea.
It is.
It doesn't work. He looks so stupid. That's one thing in this movie that I guess we can get into later. Every single character looks so dumb. So stupid. But
here. Let me say this. The beginning of the movie, we get this very snappy sequence. And in my opinion, the best part of the movie.
I agree.
They give us it's 1795 and Dr. Victor Frankenstein has created a man put together, comprised of limbs from other corpses and has reanimated him, and Frankenstein wants to kill him but simply cannot, and the monster ends up murdering his wife out of revenge. The monster goes to the Arctic. Victor Frankenstein is simply just a man, and his creation, though he tried to kill him, ends up outliving him.
Yeah.
And then boom, we get the end of the sequence. This is the exact same story that we get in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Yes.
This sets up that this movie is a direct sequel to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Right.
Which, bold already, right off the bat.
Way bold.
Yeah, the only retcon that they make is that he doesn't burn himself at the end. He continues on to be in this dumb plot.
Right. And that's truly where the similarities with Mary Shelley's story end.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not faithful. They don't uphold anything, whatever. Doesn't matter. This is all told to us in this snappy sequence through his narration. He tells his story. A lot of this movie he narrates, and it's right off the bat we're introduced to this. Once again, I'll use this word a million times to describe this movie. This dumb voice, this stupid, gravelly, he talks like this.
Are you ready? Are you ready? This is it.
Yeah.
I, Frankenstein.
Yeah, he talks like that the whole movie.
That's what he's doing the whole movie.
Yeah, and he's narrating the plot of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with that voice.
And if my 1 second impression was hard to listen to, could you imagine?
Yeah.
92 minutes of it.
That's another thing I will give this movie. It at least is an hour 30 minutes, 32 minutes or whatever.
It could have been 45.
It could have been 45, but it didn't bite off 2 hours at least. But yeah. So we get that, recap of the book. Then we see what happens directly after. He buries Frankenstein's body and then is attacked by demons. And while he's attacked by demons, he's rescued by 2 gargoyles. And this right here, they just start throwing plot points at you. And immediately, like, you can't keep it straight. The writers of this script couldn't keep it straight. The film doesn't keep it straight. From here on out, the plot doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It makes no sense. It's dumb. It retcons itself. It's terrible.
Yeah, he's saved by 2 gargoyles, but also let's not forget to mention that the gargoyles in this movie are canonically created by Michael, the archangel from the Bible. Yeah, Michael, the archangel from the Bible, has created gargoyles to defend Earth from demon hordes.
Yeah, so gargoyles are really secretly angels created by Archangel Michael to be like mortal defenders, I guess. They're like angels on Earth. So that's already a concept.
It's incredibly gripping.
Yeah. And they have a queen, and her name is Lenore. And her second in command is Gideon, portrayed by Jai Courtney.
But we forgot to mention who plays the queen? Miranda Otto, who is Éowyn in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They wanted to.
They needed that fantasy vibe. They're doing that like sexy vampire, sexy monster thing.
To, man.
Like they do in Underworld and Twilight. But this movie definitely takes a very hard left turn into like the realm of fantasy. And so I guess that adds to it. Adds to that fantasy vibe.
But it's not just that it takes a hard turn into fantasy. It's like fantasy, but also gothic, but also like cyberpunk at times.
Yeah, the movie has no clue what it wants to be.
I can't describe the artistic direction in this film.
There is no direction. They just keep doing things. This movie felt like they were making a movie with no plan. Like they were just making it as they went along. Like fully producing the movie.
Yeah. I did some digging on the director of this movie. His name is Stuart Beattie.
Yes.
And I was not surprised to find out that he hasn't directed a lot that we know.
Yes.
But he's written quite a bit. He wrote the story for the first Pirates of the Caribbean film, which admittedly is the best one. He also wrote G.I. Joe.
Yeah, so...
and then this was not his directorial debut, but this was like his big project. Like the one people gave him a real chance on. And, I mean, I don't gotta tell you, the man's been nominated for more Razzies than he has anything else.
He tripped on his shoelaces and landed on his face.
Yeah. And he hasn't worked much since this movie, which I wonder why.
Yeah, in shame.
Now, here's what I was telling you, and I think I was also, I mean, when I was watching it at home, my commentary out loud was, this is the kind of movie that I would have, like, let's say I'm the director. I poured every ounce of myself into it. I loved my work on it. I got the girl from Lord of the Rings. I got the guy from The Dark Knight. I got Jai Courtney. I got, like some real actors that people have heard of. And I'm adapting a graphic novel. And then when I found out what the critics thought of it, I was just devastated. That's what this is. Like, this, I think, was Stuart Beattie or Kevin Grevio, or maybe both of them, saying, this is everything. These are my balls on the table. This is everything I have. And it just got ripped apart.
Surely they were not kidding themselves, because
I don't know, man.
Dude,
this movie wants to be epic.
Yeah, and that's a problem. It hurts the movie.
I mean, they literally, we're talking angels and demons
Oh
fighting
yeah,
to protect Earth.
fighting for
Like
the fate of
it wants to
humanity.
be awesome in the biblical sense.
Literally in the biblical sense.
Yes. And so the way that the plot progresses after we meet the gargoyles, who are also angels, it turns out that Eowyn is super into Adam, and she really likes him. I should say that Adam is what Frankenstein's monster goes by now.
Yeah, Lenore, the queen of the gargoyles, named
Eowyn.
Yeah, named him Adam because sure, that's not on the nose.
No, first man, that whole thing.
There's a line in the book Mary Shelley's Frankenstein where the creature tells Frankenstein, "I ought to have been thine Adam," and I suppose it is a reference to that.
You can't see, but I'm making an obscene hand gesture right now. Yeah, no. But he's invited to be one of them, and he doesn't want to because he's a loner.
That's like literally the reason.
Yeah, no, like he literally doesn't want to because he's a loner. And he uses these like I guess I don't know what they are, but I guess the only thing I can describe them as like police batons.
Yeah, they're just batons.
Yeah, and he uses them and is like proficient in police batons and dual wields them and uses them to fight demons.
Yeah.
And that's just how he rolls. And we follow him, right? Like not truly throughout the course of the movie, but they imply that like 200 years pass. And he kind of lives this existence of, I guess, I don't know.
He's a demon hunter.
Yeah, being alone and killing demons?
Yeah, so right off the bat, first of all, these demons attack him. The gargoyles save him and take him back to their cathedral. And they don't explain why the demons suddenly attacked him. No explanation. And then the gargoyles ask him to join their order, and he says no because he's guilty because he killed a person once. And like throughout the rest of the movie, he's like, I'm bad because I killed that girl in the book.
in the book that we are now butchering.
Yeah, in the book that we're just pissing on.
There's an interesting shift that happens in this movie, and for me it was really jarring. And I eventually came to understand it, but in my opinion it's really poorly done. Of course, it takes place in the beginning, it's 1795, and then they do tell you that time has passed and that he's continued to live on. But they show him next to all these angels, and these angels are wearing like medieval-esque fantasy garb. And then all of a sudden, people pull out Glocks. Like 30 minutes into the movie, there's like a gunfight. And I was completely floored. I did not know what was going on. I think I texted you about it. I was like, what is happening? What is the timeline? Why are there now Glocks when I just watched angels fight with swords?
Yeah. So the way that they initially show that time has passed was like the first huge strike for me. Well, actually, the first huge strike was seeing the gargoyles probably, but the second huge strike, 200 years passes. This whole time he's kind of dressed like he's in 1795, and he has like gross, long, greasy hair. He's a monster made out of corpses, so it's like fine. And they show his face looking right into the camera, and to show you 200 years have passed, they fade to him. Now he has like a undercut Captain America haircut, and he's like really well groomed and is now wearing like modern clothes. He's got like a trench coat on. Yeah,
a cyberpunk.
And that is the way they show you time has passed, is that he's gotten a cool modern haircut. And I was like, oh my god. The haircut.
Yeah, no,
His
it's
dumb
ridiculous.
haircut. Oh my god. Yeah, and that's something I want to mention. The costuming in this movie is so terrible. Is so terrible. It looks like they went to Spirit Halloween and they raided the fantasy section, and that is what every character is wearing, and it looks horrible.
And if we can speak to Frankenstein's design really quick, or Adam's, I suppose, there is no effort to make him not look like Aaron Eckhart with like some scars drawn on.
Yeah, they drew some scars on. That's
It's
it.
because he gets shirtless like 3 times, I think, and because again, sexy Frankenstein, and there's just like nothing that indicates he has limbs from other bodies. It's very clearly a uniform body, a uniform face, and they just like drew on some scars. And this movie was not low budget. This is a huge attempt at a blockbuster film. It had a budget of I think $65 million. That's the number I found.
Yeah.
Why not put effort into your protagonist?
No. The main man. And so I was like, okay, well maybe they retconned him. Maybe he was a guy who died and they brought that dead guy back to life. You know, they never really say in the movie how Frankenstein was created, even though they imply it's the same as the book. And I was like, okay, well, in my head canon, he's just one body, and that can make sense. Then he says at a point in the movie that he's a monster made from body parts from 8 different corpses. I was like, where?
Yeah, no. And they really shouldn't have showed him shirtless. But I understand they had to thirst trap you.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's just, man, it's not well done. There's nothing about this movie that's well done.
No, not a thing. So it's really dumb. He is killing some demons, and I think he or one of the demons accidentally kills a police officer. They kill one police officer, and somehow that's, I think, why the gargoyles like capture him again, and now they're gonna like imprison him. But like he killed he killed Frankenstein's wife, and like he killed one guy on accident. Like, is that really, now you have to be imprisoned in the holy tomb? Like, that's a little extreme, isn't it?
And then his imprisonment buys time for the demon hordes to communicate, and it's the first time that we hear from Nabirius. Right? Was that his name?
Nabirius.
And this is the demon prince that we eventually find out is really just a billionaire businessman. So a demon prince.
Yeah.
No real disguise there. And that whole businessman subplot thing. Of course, this billionaire businessman employs the sexy scientist love interest that Yvonne Strahovski plays.
Yeah. So he's hired this scientist to learn how to reanimate corpses, and we're introduced to her and her like nothing lab partner who is so unimportant, and they try to later on act like he has any sort of value, and he so doesn't. He's just like some dude. They are trying to bring a dead rat back to life, and oh my god, this rat. It looks so bad. It looks so bad, this scene. And this is like really early on in the film. Like already it looks so terrible. And they're using, like, this is kind of where the cyberpunk theme comes back. They're using like weird, I'll say Resident Evil-esque, like it's just a screen that's projected and you like touch the projection, and like it's weird future computer, but like that's it. Like nothing else.
Mouse looks like something out of the Tale of Despero. Like, yeah. It's that poorly animated.
Yeah. Like, it's a cartoon.
That movie came out 2008.
Yeah, this
movie had a budget of $65 million and came out in 2014.
Yeah. So one thing I have to say about Nibirius, this is what they did wrong. They're trying to make a sexy Frankenstein movie. We got a sexy love interest. If you're trying to do that, the main antagonist should also be sexy.
Absolutely.
But he's not. He's an old man. This is who Bill Nighy plays. And look him up if you don't know what he looks like. But he's... I just saw he's 72 years old. So, like, he's, you know, not about to be the sexy antagonist. And that's where they went wrong. They need a sexy antagonist. Like, all the vampires in Twilight are sexy, even if they're, you know, good or evil.
I'd have to agree.
So
his design is also just not good. Like, if you...
Dude.
So Nibirius, this is the thing with this movie. The things that they're calling... the characters that they're using, much like David, etc., Frankenstein, they're all from, you know, literature, common folklore, religion. Nibirius is also, like, a real thing in the sense that people have talked about Nibirius and is considered to be like an actual prince of hell by many. He's like a 3-headed dog. He can also appear as a crow. But the design for Nibirius in this movie is the most straightforward, like, old man has demon red makeup on.
It's occasionally he has
approach.
red eyes too. Yeah, like it's just a guy in a suit.
Yeah, it's a really lame approach.
Yeah, big miss there.
Painfully lame.
Big
so
miss there.
either sexy or cool.
Yeah,
you know,
but not even. It's just an old man in a suit. No dice.
No.
No, they don't really have any. All the demons are not really interesting. They're just men in suits. Usually, they're just like goons or henchmen. Sometimes they show their real like demon selves, and I think these are like one of the very few practical effects they use, and the makeup is horrible. They look like Power Ranger villains. They look terrible. They're all uniform too. Like there's no variation. Once again, huge miss. No creativity. The name Nibirius, I'm pretty sure they just like Googled demon names and picked one out of a hat.
Oh,
Terrible.
I have no doubt that that's what they did. Even like the billionaire's name, Charles Wessex, is... Now I'm just getting into like all sorts of... I'm just making fun of everything. But nothing is believable. The stakes are not good. The minute you meet Tara, who is again, I've been calling her sexy scientist, because that's clearly what they're trying to do here, you know that she is going to be a love interest. I mean, the minute you meet her.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. This movie, you can watch the whole movie by just seeing the first 10 minutes, if that makes sense. You can see the trajectory it's going to take.
Yeah.
So they do not explain this until after they should have explained this. But the reason the demons keep chasing Adam Frankenstein is because they're trying to discover the secret to reanimating corpses, bringing the dead back to life. We don't know why, but they are. So that's why he's hired this woman to reanimate rats, and then meanwhile he's going to try to capture Adam Frankenstein to like do experiments on him, I guess. And they find out somehow that he's been imprisoned by the gargoyles. So they have what I think it's in Paris. I think it's like either Notre Dame or like the Basilica of Saint Denis, or some massive cathedral. And
yeah, that's what I think it was.
They have like an epic battle, like literally the forces of heaven versus the forces of hell in the streets of Paris in front of this cathedral. And it's awesome in the biblical sense, you could say. It doesn't look good and it's not very interesting, but it is awesome in the biblical sense. And here is this movie's biggest mistake, I think, is this scene, this sequence. They have this huge battle, but they do it about 30 minutes into the film, And it so clearly feels like the climax, like the final battle in the movie. But they do it like right at the beginning. So now you've seen this absolutely epic battle of biblical proportions, and I was like, the rest of this movie cannot top this. It's going to be so much less important for the entire rest of the film. And it was completely underwhelming after you see this battle.
Yeah.
One of the many mistakes.
And that's the thing. I regret even saying this out loud because there are clearly just so many issues with this premise alone. It's very, very stylistically inconsistent, narratively inconsistent. So it doesn't have a lot of potential out the gate. And yet, this is the kind of movie that I could see myself drawn to, like to have a good time with at the very least. You know what I'm saying?
I did. I did exactly that.
I didn't quite have a good time with it though.
Oh man.
I found myself more frustrated than anything because I don't know, I see effort here. Like I see a $65 million budget and I see A/B minus list cast. And I don't know, I wondered to myself, just how could this have gone so wrong? Like it frustrates me more than makes me laugh.
Yeah, because as you're watching it, you're like, you could just not do that, or you could just do that differently, and this movie would be infinitely better. Like, everything, every scene. It almost feels at times like this movie was made with no consistent plot, and they just filmed a bunch of scenes, and then cut it together in a way that they thought made sense. It's so bad. But, yeah, I will say that a million times. Another thing I want to point out is I don't know where this budget went because the CGI in this movie is so god awful, and they put it at the forefront of the movie. Like the whole movie, the CGI is right there in your face. Anytime they show a gargoyle or whatever, like they're showing that full gargoyle. They are not hiding their terrible CGI. They're wearing it like a badge of honor. And I just can't understand why. Like, why are you so proud of something that looks so terrible?
Yeah, and I think the real issue is that this whole movie, especially the climax of the movie, is reliant on the CGI. And so there is a very evident shift in this movie where all of a sudden it feels like you're watching a cartoon. To me, it reminded me of the prequels, the Star Wars prequels. All of a sudden I was watching a cartoon. I was watching a live action movie starring, I almost forgot his name, Aaron Eckhart, and then I'm watching a cartoon.
It's not even, like, it wishes it was Star Wars Episode 1. It's so terrible.
That's
true. It's at the forefront of the movie.
Yeah.
This movie visually is terrible. Yeah, they have this huge battle in front of this cathedral in the streets of Paris, which also, there's not a single soul out in the streets of Paris. No one's outside.
These streets were desolate. Maybe because there's just demons running rampant, but I don't know.
Yeah, of Paris. So, whatever. It's something you do notice because how can you not? Maybe it's a nitpick, but also like, really? Like, that's a hard thing to suspend your disbelief on. But yeah, basically they find out that like they do this dumb, like they captured Lenore, the Gargoyle Queen, so they could trade her for Adam, so that way the demons can have Adam. Really dumb. Jack Courtney, they do that. Yada yada yada. I'm skipping through the plot because it might as well not exist.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about the full thing. It's so not important.
There's a warehouse that looks like, in Monsters, Inc., when there's like that warehouse where all the doors are hanging and it's like a massive room. It's like Aperture Science-esque. It's just a million doors in this impossibly large space. The demons have a place like that, but instead of doors, it's like bodies. And I guess they're supposed to be like Frankensteins that they can't figure out how to bring back to life. So the demon's master plan is they'll find out how to bring people back to life because for whatever reason they can tell Adam Frankenstein doesn't have a soul because he was not born normally. He was created, so he doesn't have a soul. And what a soul is vague and meaningless because he is like an emotional thinking person. So I don't know what a soul means, but whatever.
And
he doesn't have one.
It does kind of come back to that later on.
Yeah, and really dumb. Really, really dumb. So they want to make a bunch of soulless living people so that way demons can possess the people and be their souls. Basically, that's their plan. And already I was like, okay, so many problems with that. First of all, can't demons just possess people? Isn't that like the thing demons do is possess people? Like that's what demons do. Second of all, like how are any of the demons on Earth if they needed an empty corpse to possess? A living person with no soul to possess. Like it doesn't make any sense. The possession thing. Really, really dumb. Really, really dumb. They're gonna make an army of Frankenstein demon people.
God, something we left out is, and for good reason, and I really don't want to get in too deep to it if it's all the same to you, but there is this part of the plot that is kind of in there. I wouldn't call it a subplot because it's not huge, but it's a thing. Frankenstein has this journal that he carries around. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
And he's really, really attached to this journal. And the journal is something that Tara, the scientist that is his love interest, is really interested in. Is it Dr. Frankenstein's journal?
Yeah, it's Dr. Frankenstein's journal.
But then Adam also uses it, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know why, but he carries it around and it's like how to...
That's what I was never clear on.
It's also burn the journal. What?
Exactly.
Just burn the journal.
We didn't bring up the journal before. He's like morbidly, I guess, fascinated with this journal. He loves it. It was Frankenstein's journal and it has important details on reanimation in it. But he also still uses it, perhaps. And his whole thing at the very end, he's been super protective of this journal. He didn't even want to give it to Tara, who he later falls in love with. He goes and he tells Nibirius that he will give them the journal, I guess, so that they can access all these key details about reanimation, if he can get Tara, if he can ensure her safety. And this is ultimately what the director, and this is a real thing that the director said, this is what he believes proves that Adam did have a soul and had earned a soul.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't that the stupidest thing?
Whatever. Yeah. Okay.
We didn't bring up the journal before, but it's like pretty important to the resolution, I guess.
Yeah, there's so much just like
fodder.
Like in like hostage negotiating in this movie too. It happens a million times. At one point Tara's like, I'm not gonna make your bodies anymore, which, you know, once again it's like, girl, you've been working in the same facility that the corpse warehouse is and you never noticed? You never questioned why people are trying to come back from the grave? Like, really? Whatever. But yeah, the gargoyles, there's so much dumb stuff that happens. So yeah, Adam Frankenstein gets that journal, and he's gonna give it to the demons, and so the gargoyles send Lenore, Queen of the Gargoyles, sends some gargoyles to kill Adam before he can do that, and Adam kills the angels, the gargoyles. And he kills Jai Courtney, which, you know, fun to see. But they also don't call it killing. They call it, when you kill a gargoyle, it's you ascend them, which means you like send them back to heaven. And when you kill a demon, you descend them, which is you send them back to hell. Dumb terminology for the movie for you.
Just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and they act like it's like a huge thing because she's like, oh my god, you killed Gideon. You ascended him. He's in heaven now. Oh my god. But it's also like, y'all are angels. You're from heaven. Like, it's not like he died.
Yeah,
He just went
got
back
go
to heaven.
home.
Yeah, like,
Like he's visiting mom and dad during college.
yeah. Why can't he come? And another thing, like, why can't he just come back down from heaven? Like, why is he trapped in heaven? Come back down.
They never explain that. They never explain.
They never explain it. They never explain why the demons can't just possess people. Nothing is explained.
The reason, just because you had mentioned it, he does end up having a fight with Gideon, because he refuses to help the angels fight the demons. He no longer thinks it's his battle. And, of course, Gideon is sent to kill him. This doesn't work because Adam is prolific with his batons.
He's so prolific. What a lame weapon, too.
It's the lamest possible weapon they could have made.
So, the gargoyles are after Adam Frankenstein. He knows this, so he lures them to the corpse warehouse, and then there's another gargoyle versus demon battle. But it's less grandiose, because once again, it is not the forces of heaven versus hell in front of a cathedral. And so it's really not that climactic, or it doesn't feel like the final battle. Like the final battle, like I said, already happened. But whatever. So this is where we've been talking about. Nibirius tries to force a demon to possess Adam Frankenstein. Meanwhile, they have this like dumb countdown. There's literally percentage clocks on like every corpse, and it's like reanimating 1%, 2%. Like it's like software they have to download.
What does it tell you about this movie that the director had to go on record and, after everyone saw the movie, explain at what point Adam got a soul?
Yeah, but also he earned a soul. He grew a soul. Like, how the hell does that work? Because he fell in love with the girl. Don't you have to have a soul to fall in love with a girl? And falling in love with someone makes you grow a soul? Makes no sense. But yeah, and then he kills Nibirius and stops him. And that's it.
There is a incredibly CGI shot of the building falls into a massive hole in the earth, and all the demons are descended, I suppose. And that's essentially how the movie ends. And then we get a final moment with Eowyn and Adam. Kind of, I guess, all is forgiven, because even though he ascended Gideon, she understands that he is his own person and he's doing his thing. And we get the best part of the movie, besides the very beginning, which is the monologue at the end.
More dumb narration.
More dumb narration. But man, I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the stupid point in this stupid movie where we heard the title. Do we remember the like 3 different things? I don't remember what the entire monologue is. But then he's got like 3 phrases that he says in a row. He's like, I, big boy. I, hero. I, Frankenstein.
I'm watching the clip and oh my god.
Cut to black.
I'm
You
gonna
watch the clip?
Yeah, once I'm literally watching the clip.
I have fought to defend mine.
Okay, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna recite it to you. It's so bad.
Okay.
Oh my god. This movie. It's
We do
worse
not ask
than our.
for the lives we are given,
We didn't ask for the lives we are given,
but each of us has the right to defend that life.
but each of us has the right to defend that.
I have fought to defend mine.
I have fought to defend mine.
And when the forces of darkness
And when the
return,
forces of darkness return,
you shall know that I am
you
out
shall know
there,
that I am out there
fighting to defend
fighting
yours.
to defend yours. I,
Descender of the demon
descender
horde.
of the demon horde.
I, my father's son.
My father's son. And then, of course,
I,
Frankenstein.
And that's the last line of the movie. Eerily similar to like the things I've heard from people at the NRA convention. That's awesome.
I wish he had holy guns. The batons are so lame.
Holy guns would have been cooler than the stupid batons he carries around.
Yeah. I freaking Frankenstein. Yeah, I watched it on Netflix. It is on Netflix as of this recording. Normally, I always say like, okay, but that's subject to change because things go on and off different services. But I think this will be on Netflix for a long time because I don't think anyone's fighting for the rights of this movie.
Hell no. This movie's lucky it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that we are one of the maybe 100 viewers that has watched this movie since it's been put on Netflix.
Yeah. Or ever. 100 viewers.
Is that
ever.
bold?
No.
Well, no, I think the worst part is that this movie made money.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to say. I cannot believe. Budget is $65 million, grossed or earned $76.8 million. What who watched
Isn't it
this
Kids Who
movie? Who saw that commercial and was like, that looks good?
Yeah, man.
I remember thinking it looked terrible when I first saw this commercial. It was even worse than I thought it was.
I will forever mourn the fact that we didn't get a massive cinematic universe with this movie, Blade, Resident Evil, and Underworld.
Yeah,
Which all of that was what they were trying to do, by the way. None of what I just said is fake. They really wanted to combine all those movies and make a cinematic universe.
In a better world.
But, yeah, at least we have this on Netflix.
Yeah. I will say, like, this is probably, like, first of all, 5% on Rotten Tomatoes is the score. Which is generous. I would have given it a 4%.
That's very fair.
I had such a good time watching this movie, though. I did not do it sober. And I don't think anyone should.
No, yeah.
But
yeah, watch it drunk. You might like it more.
Yeah.
You actually, unequivocally, you will enjoy it.
Absolutely. You need to be blurry in the eyes before you turn this movie on.
Yeah, that might have been the mistake I made.
Oh, yeah. Don't even watch it. Don't even, like, drink while you're watching it. Like, be drunk and then watch it.
God.
Yeah, it's so bad. But I loved it.
Well, thanks for putting me on, and I'm glad we're going to watch a really bad movie next.
Garbage after garbage after garbage.
I'm excited.
Okay. Thank you for everything. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, buddy.
And thank you everybody for listening. Goodbye.